Hey, this is Dan and Tom, and Mike Reyes is with us today. We're going to talk about, hey, Mission Impossible, the final reckoning. It's out. We saw it. Here's our view. All right. Now, Mike, what do you think overall?
I think it is a marked improvement over Dead Reckoning. I think
Okay.
I as much as I enjoy Dead Reckoning, I think I put it right next to Mission Impossible 2 as like the lower end of the pool. Some people are going to think I'm crazy, but it has good stunts, but the story for Dead Reckoning was my problem. So when
Okay.
the final reckoning came in, it still has some issues. It still leaves some pretty big loose threads that I am definitely I had a whole list I wrote a whole list of features I wanted to pitch my management at Cinema Blend, and
Yeah.
I got through three of them in the staff meeting. I was like, I have more that I can pitch. They're like, okay, we're gonna go with these three for now. And it's like, okay, that's fine. But as much as it tries to tie up all of the loose ends, there's one really big one. There's one moderately big one that's left from Dead Reckoning, which I have information on how that was going to be sort of tied up in this.
Mm.
And
They had to cut it at some point. It was 2 hours and 45 minutes or whatever.
oh, all right, well, we'll get into that in a moment. But cutting it off at that point, I think it's really good. I think the action's great. I'm glad they sold the biplane sequence because I think
Mm.
the sub sequence is really the action set piece
Yeah.
that's the impressive thing. Did you both see it in IMAX?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
I missed it when I went to the press screening, but apparently that submarine where he's turning the crank and then the aspect ratio opens with the turns.
Yes.
That
Right.
alone makes me want to go see this again in IMAX.
Yeah.
Yeah, the IMAX I would definitely recommend IMAX. The action sequences in the biplane chase, fantastic in IMAX. Wow. Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
that is why I'm going tonight in 40X because I have been getting into that format more recently. In fact, ever since Twisters last year kind of put it on people's radars, studios have been selling it more. And you've got motion seats, you've got water, you've got air, smoke, all this other stuff.
yeah.
This year, Sinners and Final Destination Bloodlines have been the best ones so far.
All
Yeah.
right.
That is why I'm excited. I'm doing Mission tonight and then Lilo and Stitch tomorrow.
I'm gonna love to hear what
Good.
you think about that because I saw No
Yeah.
Time to Die in 40X. Now they didn't do water, but I hated it because like in Norway when they're driving over the countryside, you're just bouncing all over the place.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
because it's like the
I'm
old
an old
motion.
guy. That wasn't for me. If I was younger, maybe I would have liked it.
yeah, yeah.
Fair. It's not going to be for everybody.
Now, I'm going to just say, I like the title Final Reckoning because it really means something. It refers to calculating one's position based on their previously known position, their speed, and time. And in seven and now in eight here, that's exactly what they're doing. So it's a perfect title. I love that. All right, so let's talk about the pre-title sequence, which I think was somewhere around 18 or 20 minutes, right?
Yeah, I timed it at
Some
20. So yeah.
Okay, time to the 20. And it was, I thought it was pretty solid with some nice flashbacks of the previous Mission Impossible movies, which kind of helped frame what we were about to see to a degree, I think, not totally. And there's plenty of good stuff in it that grabbed your attention. And then, of course, Leo Schifrin music starts and bam, yeah, everybody's like, oh, yeah, this is fantastic. So that's a great moment after the pre-title runs, right?
What did you think of the pre-title, Mike?
Those speakers shook in the
Yeah.
theater with
Yeah.
them because it was the IMAX press screening.
Yeah.
They had it turned up enough that it shook when it played that
Yes.
Yeah.
intro. And then other parts, it's like, okay, that's something I'm going to note with 40X because the seats actually rumble in that.
Right.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
sounds
Yeah.
never nearly as loud as that. But
Yeah.
I like the pre-title. I like the pre-title sequence. I like that they gave us sort of the flashback of this is what Ethan's been doing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just a quick primer if you haven't seen the other movies.
Hmm.
Although you should probably at least see the first one because that is the movie that
Yes.
Christopher McQuarrie is head over heels in love with, and you won't convince me otherwise.
Yes.
As well as some other classic movies he references here and Rogue Nation.
Yep.
But something I had heard from a friend. Now, I have a friend who saw this in a test screening.
Okay.
It was a 3 hour, 10-minute cut. And
Wow.
he went with me to to my press screening. And he's like, I like it better with this. He said that the trim was good. When
Okay.
Ethan is talking to the entity in that cradle, it was supposed to take on the form of the young woman that died. Like what that
Okay.
whole story in Dead Reckoning where
Okay,
the
yeah.
Yeah.
he died and
Hmm.
then
Yes.
put into the IMF. It was supposed to take that form. And then I guess it just goes through the whole same spiel as it, but it was a very, he saw it in like an unfinished cut. It was just enough to test it with people and to get like a beat on what's going on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But he said that he liked it better. But the thing about having a pre-title so good and so reverent is they didn't need to repeat so many of those moments, those flashbacks through footage throughout the movie. I
I
felt
agree
like
with you
Later.
there.
too
Yes. Yes.
hand-holdy.
Yeah. Well, and I had
Yes.
some of the audience members made comments about the fact that they thought there was too many flashbacks. Now
Yes.
for me, I watched all 7 movies this week before going to this. So they were all fresh for me. But
Yeah,
if I
yeah.
hadn't seen, like Rogue Nation, I hadn't seen that in a while. So until this week. So it's nice to get some of that back into the mind when and putting some of that stuff up front was helpful, I thought. But I agree. They then repeated
Yes.
stuff they didn't need to during the rest of the movie.
Yeah. They could have cut a couple of minutes there.
Yeah, but I mean, for the time that for the running time that we do have in this film, it flies. Like
Yes.
almost 3 hours just flies by.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. I have to say I wasn't thinking, oh geez, this is really dragging on. There were a couple of moments, there were a couple of parts I thought were too long. There were a couple of the underwater stuff was pretty long, and the biplane chase was pretty long.
Yeah.
I thought they could have trimmed a little bit out of that, but it is exciting. I have to say, those were the exciting moments in the movie in terms of action sequences, right? That was good. I thought a little bit of the underwater stuff was a little predictable. I don't know, you knew something was going to happen, and it happened.
Well, it
They
is
keep
a
And
Tom Cruise, Ethan Hunt movie. Some of that
yeah,
stuff is predictable.
well,
and
you
they
knew I was
definitely
like,
telegraph.
okay, all right, and then boom, okay. But all right, so Tom, what do you think? The pre-title, you liked it, right? It's you said it,
I thought it was
right?
good. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. And I thought, the chemistry of the general principal guys in the movie was pretty solid. I mean, they've done it all before, right? You got Tom Cruise and Simon Pegg and Ving Rhames. I mean, that's a good chemistry, and it felt good. They introduced some new people in this one, and I thought the chemistry was okay. I didn't think it was the strongest, but I thought it was okay. But I thought in general the casting was pretty solid, and I, I think they gave Peg a few good facial expressions and things that he did that were funny in serious moments, but kind of lightened things up a little bit.
Mhm.
And he did a good job with that. He was perfect. He played it off very well, and I liked that.
That was something I did really like about Final Reckoning is the humor, the sly humor that we've seen in Mission Impossible came back because
Yes.
Yes.
Rogue Nation was still kind of funny. I think Fallout and Dead Reckoning have a problem. I like to call it playing the Saint Ethan card because
Hmm.
it's just so reverent of Ethan and like especially through Luther, which Ving Rhames sells the stuff he's saying, especially on Fallout, where he's like, "Oh yeah, he's the guy that does it because he's the only one that can. He's the one that has to." And it's like,
Yeah.
I get it. He's our hero. We like him. Please, like, I mean, I love seeing Ving Rhames, but he can do more than this.
Right.
But
Yeah.
it was nice to see little cheeky bits of humor and just sprinkled throughout the film. And it's like, okay, like Holt McElhaney,
Oh, he was
this whole
great.
thing about the aircraft carrier
Yes.
Yeah, that was good.
rides the line between,
Yeah.
okay, this is getting a bit much. And no, I like this. Let this guy go.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, it's funny because my wife came with me to this, and she's not a spy movie fan at all. And she said that she thought the humor was better in Dead Reckoning than in
Mm.
the final. And I think part of it is some of the humor was based on the past. So, like, there's a
Yeah,
scene where
yeah,
somebody shows up, I'm not going to say who, from the past.
yeah.
And I almost fell out of my chair laughing when you see that person, right? We're
Okay.
not going to give it away, but
Oh,
Yeah,
it,
yeah, yeah,
it
yeah.
was just blown mind. It was amazing.
if it is the
It,
person I think it is,
It
well,
is.
I was amazed. Oh yeah, I'm amazed that well, people know they're in the movie. Like
Yeah,
they
yeah,
mentioned
yeah.
12 Saxons, William Dunlow's. He has a
Yeah,
character poster.
yeah,
He
yeah,
got a
yeah.
character
Right. Yeah,
poster
Well,
yeah.
see,
They know he's in
I've
the movie. We could say it.
it's
So,
because they blew it last time by giving away everything that was cool.
fair.
I've done nothing with
yeah, yeah,
trailers,
yeah.
That's
advertising,
fair.
anything.
But
Fair.
I've
Oh,
ignored it.
but I thought that was a great, and I'd like to give him a shout out because I thought he was terrific. William Dunlow in this, I thought he was awesome. I thought he was awesome, and I thought the one who played his wife Tapisa.
Lucy Tulu Godric. She's
Okay.
fantastic. She and Rolf Saxon are fantastic as the Donlows. Like
Yes.
you
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
could make a
yeah,
Paramount Plus series at this point. Meet the Donlows, and there you
yeah,
go.
yeah, yeah.
But
I mean, it's Tapisa. She says a lot without saying much. Really, she didn't have a lot. Right? She was
yes,
good. I thought she was good.
and even that
Uh,
whole thread with each other where they just have that sort of heartbreaking, like I'll
yeah,
see you later sort of exchange. But also to take a character who was basically a punchline for the franchise for 30 years, like every time you watch that movie, you just think, that poor bastard.
Yeah.
The moment
yeah.
they announced he was coming back, I was like, oh, this is exciting.
William Donlow was played by Rolf Saxon. We didn't say that earlier. Gotta give him a shout out. He was good. All right,
Oh,
what'd you think? What'd you think of Haley Atwell?
I think they needed to keep Rebecca Ferguson, and that's only because of the fact, and
All right.
that is not a slight against Haley Atwell because I love Haley Atwell to death. I think she is a consummate performer. She is a knockout actor, and I would serve at her whims as like a butler. But she's a tremendous talent. So to have her shoehorned in with like a random role that really you should have built her up either more in Dead Reckoning or somehow
Yeah.
retcon something needed to happen.
Okay.
And this is something that I kind of noticed with Dead Reckoning, where you have Nick Offerman's character General Sidney
Hmm.
felt like a stand-in for Rob Delaney,
Hmm.
who is in Dead Reckoning, in the whole
Mm-hmm.
the cadre that meets with the president. Indira Varma's not here, but Jenny McTeer's here. It's like, okay, so we have new actors kind of filling in the ranks here, but there's not much continuity and not much to build off of. And
Yes.
maybe they're using it as a backdoor for a new IMF team because giving Benji all his due does prove that he's ready to lead a team. But I just feel like Grace was the character on paper is not as good as how Haley Atwell portrays her.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
All right. There you
Yeah.
go. I agree.
So you're saying it's more the character, not the actress.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I very rarely can find a situation where the actor is the problem.
Hmm.
Like insert, it has to be really bad.
The
Like
writing
especially if
is,
you're
yeah,
a writer or you just enjoy reading things, you can usually tell like, okay, that is not enough. That is too much. Like you can usually piece it out yourself. And it's just
yeah, yeah,
I do not think Grace was kind of too late. Like you're adding new characters, even when they were announcing that people were cast for Dead
yeah,
Reckoning Final Reckoning when Dead Reckoning used to be Dead Reckoning Part 1 was going out. It's like it felt like a lot kind of got lost in the gap between
yeah,
these two films and between COVID delaying everything.
Well, yeah, because
yeah.
it was supposed to really be part one and part two of a story, and a
Yes,
long story, right?
yes,
And so introducing some of these new characters in the middle here, or
yeah,
even later into the movie, just I agree with you. It was kind of
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
what?
Now, what about Pom Clementif as Paris? I thought she was pretty solid. I thought
I love Palm Clementif. Like
Clementif.
she is a standout, another Marvel standout. She was fantastic as Mantis in the Guardians movies.
Hmm.
Okay.
She, especially as Paris, she is either only speaking in French or she's gesturing. So that's a
Yes.
lot for an actor to take on and to if you're worth your salt, you're able to carry that off.
Yeah.
She carried it off.
She
And
did.
she is one of the bits, but she was one of the characters that I was probably laughing with the most. And it's like, okay, this is what the humor is back through her just
Hmm.
being like, yeah, I'll kill them. Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. She had one really good line at a perfect moment too, where she says, "I kill people." Yeah, that was good. All right. Who else? Who else, guys? Who else do you want to call out here that you thought was pretty good in this?
I was glad to see Angela Bassett back
Hmm.
because they made I was glad that the theory was confirmed that Erica Sloan was the president. And there is a good maybe 5-10 minutes of this movie that could be a case for a remake of Failsafe, because
Yeah,
there are the
yeah, yeah.
moments between her and like Holt McElhaney and Nick Offerman where they're trying to determine their nuclear response.
Right.
Yes.
And it's just, it reminded me of how in Rogue Nation, the scene where we're introduced to Elsa at the opera, we're not introduced, but we see Elsa at the opera.
Right.
Yeah.
She is about to shoot a prime minister, and the certain note is highlighted in the score, and it's like, ah, the man who knew too much.
Exactly.
Classic film language, but it's not just cribbing it and just remaking that scene. Macquarie is making scenes that are evocative of those movies without being
Yes.
like, hey, you remember that? And it's just like, I want to go home and watch Failsafe again. Better still, I would watch a remake with these people playing Failsafe.
Yeah.
And that's another thing I'll highlight with another performer I thought was tremendous in here. Tremel Tillman as Captain Bloodsoe
Yeah.
running
Yes.
a submarine that
Good.
is on for a small role. He just
Solid.
digs in, gives everything, and it's like, I want to see more of this guy.
Very believable.
Natural mischief. Where he's just like, you found the right boat. You want to poke the bear, and like that is something that I will say. While the script may not have given this this big cast as much to work with, they did not cast anybody that couldn't handle it. They casted people that you knew, or you might be either you knew them or you were passingly familiar with them, and there was enough shorthand in their performances to give you, okay, I am glad that this person's here. And it may not be as meaty as I want it to be, but I'm not going to say no to Shea Wiggum in a rather interesting twist that should have really been built into Dead Reckoning.
And I hated, 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 hated. I can't say hated too many times. That twist. That just pissed me off something fierce. I'm like, why the heck did you have to, A, why'd you have to go there? B, I don't know how to say this without giving this away.
Hmm.
The genesis of that, they ruined in an earlier movie, right? Because I really did not like what they did with the genesis of that character
Oh,
in, you know where I'm going with this.
so you've got
Yeah.
problems from
Okay.
the root here.
I've got problems from the root here.
You're a Martin Landau fan.
Yeah, and when they take that and go the first way they did it when they did it, and then now in this movie with what they've done, it's just like, no, that to me that's garbage. But
Yeah.
that's
It's hard
my
for people
opinion.
listening to know what the heck we're talking about here.
Yeah, but if you watch the movie, when you see it, you'll know exactly what we're talking. The character is Briggs, right? We'll give you
Yes,
that,
Yeah.
right?
Okay. All right.
yes. And I think what they should have done is, since that was a bone of contention for a lot of classic Mission fans, there's
Hmm.
a simple fix. He's third generation.
Yeah,
He's not
Mm.
like you make that other character the first turn, as you had put it. He's the son of the legacy character, and then
yeah.
this one is the third generation, and that's the problem.
Well, and the math
Yeah.
doesn't work. That character, based
No.
on the way they described him, should have been 36. Sorry, Shay. You're younger than me, but you're not 36.
Yeah.
Yeah. There
Yeah,
you
it's
go.
like your dad, like when you were little,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like, no,
No,
no.
no, yeah.
All
No,
right,
I
Mike. When you were talking about the nuclear response too, Mike, there was a few seconds in there where I saw deal or no deal.
Yes,
I'm
yes.
not going to say anything else.
yes.
Oh, but I mean that's just implied because, and now anytime you see someone with a random briefcase, it's just like deal or no deal.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
the
yeah.
nuclear
But
football trope kind of plays into that, but
Yeah.
I see
Yeah.
you. I see you.
yeah. There were a couple of minutes there, a couple of moments. Yeah, that was good. All
Now
right, let's.
there were two other callbacks I wanted to point out here real quick.
Yeah.
One was
Sure.
I think they overdid it, but I did like the whole reference to May 22nd, 1996. I thought that was really good the way they did that. A
Wonder
little
what happened.
overkill, but I
That
like the
was good.
tie in there. So,
Yeah, yeah.
and then
That
the
was
other
good. That
one,
was good.
as we're driving home, my wife says to me, the scene with Paris, and I'm just going to say who's in it, right? Paris does something in this movie. She goes, I saw Hawkeye Pierce do that on MASH once.
Wow. Okay.
Oh,
You got it, Mike?
Yes, seed vault or
Yeah.
the vault, just the vault. That's not the seed vault.
No, no,
Yeah,
no, no, not the fault. She saw Hawkeye. Yeah, 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 yeah,
yeah, yeah. And
yeah, yeah,
that was in the information vault.
yeah. Oh yeah,
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 yeah.
right. Yeah,
Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about.
yeah. And I
Watch
thought,
TR reruns too.
yeah, that was. I thought that was a good call out there as well.
All right, the stunts, Mike, you mentioned the stunts were fantastic. There were some awesome stunts. Now, Christopher McQuarrie once said about stunts, if it can be done for real, it should be done, basically. So that's how they approach things. And I have to say, I mean, Mission Impossible and Tom Cruise, they've become world renowned for the stunts in their movies more than any other movie series for sure. And there were plenty of them here, and some of them were a little over the top, unbelievable in the sense that of the word that you couldn't believe that that can be done. But I
It's
thought it
Mission
was
Impossible, Dan.
it was exciting. I thought overall solid. Lots of fights, the biplane chases, timers, of course, dominate things here to increase the tension and suspense and so on. I thought it was okay. I thought actually I saw a little Indiana Jones in there. Even saw a little 2001 Space Odyssey in there. Ooh,
Oh yeah.
the
Oh
colors,
yes.
all that,
I didn't think of
and
that.
yeah. So I thought it was pretty good. What do you guys think of that? The stunts in general.
I'm still amazed that I forget what it was. There was a random YouTube video I found that this guy is doing a series on the production of each film and what challenges and what sort of stories were in there. And they mentioned like right up front in the first one, it's like, oh, Tom wanted to actually be on the TGV train for the train sequence, but it's like, oh, we couldn't do it. So then they had like an actual like a train car and a sound stage with like fans and everything. But eventually he just kept getting his wish and went to like free climbing and kind of being a little injured. And then everything else up to the biplane and being underwater and those runs. Like it wouldn't be a Mission Impossible movie without a run.
Yes,
He
right,
had
exactly.
many. He had
Yeah,
Yeah.
many.
yeah, yeah. I wonder how long it took to film those runs. He's like, I'm tired. I got to stop here for a second. All right. So in general, pretty good. How about sound effects? I have to say that of all movies, these guys are superior with sound effects. They do sound effects like nobody else. Whether it's somebody walking on a gravel road or whether it's bullets or punches or whatever it is, I think the sound effects are just absolutely tremendous. Let's tip of that to the whole sound department there for this movie because I just for 2 hours and 49 minutes they didn't miss a beat. I thought.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any plot aside. I don't think there's any technical aspect you would look at that you could really say that doesn't hold up. Like the effects are still
Yeah,
spectacular, partially because again, they do so many practical stunts and practical explosions and
yeah,
practical feats. And I love that filmmakers are going back to shooting on film and doing practical effects. Like
Hmm.
yes,
Christopher Nolan crashing a World War II plane for Dunkirk. And it's like, it's going to
yes,
cost a couple of million. It's like, yeah, okay. Do you know how much we're gonna make to make that up? And that's gonna be a hard hill to cross for this one because the budget inflated due to all the delays and everything. But
yeah, yeah,
I don't that's just number speak. Like I don't care. There is an actual film where Tom Cruise is on a biplane kicking Esai Morales' ass and Esai's kicking back.
yeah,
And that is that man on that plane.
Yeah.
yeah,
And again, I'm glad that was the one they sold instead of this. Like they did some featurettes on the submarine thing, and you still see a little bit some clips here and there. But
hmm
I think by drawing the attention to the biplane, it lets everything else uh, breathe so much more. And especially during the towards the end of that submarine sequence, it gets
yeah.
pretty intense.
Yes, it does. Yeah, and there's a lot of times you're guessing in the movie what will happen and what has happened, and they fill you in, which is good. I thought that was good. but yeah, the cinematography, the sound effects I thought were terrific. The cinematography, Fraser Taggart, I just give him an Oscar just for the plane scenes. I mean, just that was just fantastic.
Nice to have that landscape to work with.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, but also like Fraser Taggart,
Yeah.
always like a tremendous director of photography on this team. You have Eddie Hamilton, who is a, Spitfire editor. Like this is another one of those cases where it's basically a family enterprise. Like
yeah,
you, at least with sometimes with whether it's a franchise or whether it's a director, there's those repertory players that'll come in and still do this and do that. And like we've seen that even between Tom Cruise and Christopher McQuarrie, where Christopher McQuarrie did uncredited rewrites for Ghost Protocol,
yeah, yeah,
did rewrites for Top Gun Maverick. I think he might have also done some rewrites on Edge of Tomorrow. Like they've been working together for a while now.
yeah, yeah. It was fantastic, and it's another reason to see it on IMAX, I think, too, because that is spectacular on IMAX. Wow.
Yeah. Now,
Yeah.
Mike, you're going to see it again in 4DX, right? So
Yes.
you've got to let us know what you thought.
Oh, I definitely will.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
look, again, just I stand corrected because looking at Christopher McQuarrie, they span as far back as Valkyrie.
Wow.
McQuarrie
Wow,
wrote
wow,
Valkyrie,
wow,
and that
wow.
must have been when they first met up. And then I'm just looking at the resume right now. They do Jack Reacher, Edge of Tomorrow, Mission Impossible, the Jack Reacher sequel, The Mummy. Like they have been working consistently together for over almost 20 years.
What a solid
Yeah,
team. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Now, since
Wow.
you're talking about you just said 20 years, I know you've written about the Syndicate, and I've known you've written about how the progression of these movies. How do you think this thing did it work as a story from Mission Impossible 1 through 8, or do you think it was a stretch?
Mostly works. It does
Mostly.
work. It works on, or it works. It works on a bare bone, not a bare bones. It works on a general normal passing fan level. Like you can follow this. You can like, especially because in Dead and Final Reckoning, we're forced to ask some pretty big questions about Ethan and his career,
Mhm.
especially because of some of the one big callback that I was so happy to see in here that I was like I was like, wait a minute. I did see what I saw in the trailer. Let me write about that. And it's like, well, that may not pan out. And then it's like, no, it panned out. They answered. Well, in fact, this is a feature that I'm going to be writing. It may be going up over the weekend. I'm going to be writing it either today or tomorrow.
And this is cinemablend.com.
Blend.com, exactly.
Okay.
And the thing is, they answer a big burning question from the Mission Impossible movies. That was
Mm.
awesome. But I think that they really should have used the Syndicate as the main driver because, again, Gabriel's brought in here and we do not know much about
Right.
Gabriel. We do
Hmm.
not know much about that night that Ethan was won over because they between editing and rewriting, we lost a lot of this. And
Mm.
I think if it was the syndicate my theory that the syndicate was behind everything, that would have made it just so much better. Especially, it would have made that twist that Tom was not a big fan of involving Briggs. It might have worked better
Yes.
because it would have tied everything together with that one thread. And
Hmm.
also, Solomon Lane is technically still a loose thread as well because some people are like, oh, he's presumed dead after he was handed over at the end of Fallout. It's like he's Solomon Lane. You don't think he could pay someone or bribe someone or kill someone or has someone hidden? That would have also worked into this whole the acolytes of the entity where they're hiding and they have people everywhere. I wonder where we've heard that before.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
again, maybe I think that might have been the big thing that influenced me was I'm looking at this and it's like, Bond kind of did this turning Quantum into Spectre, and I liked how they did that. They really should have done this, but it's like, well, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
And my
Yeah.
last gripe on that is you've got these protesters that are like, oh yeah, we're the children of the atom, and I was like, when did this become an X-Men movie?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. See, because I was agreeing with what you were saying about the syndicate, when I was reading what you were writing
Hmm.
about this stuff, because it's like, all of a sudden we got this AI entity thing. And,
Yeah.
Dan and I have a computer background. So I'm kind of like, yeah, not quite yet. And
Yeah.
so if you had that controlling interest that you knew of,
Yeah.
the Syndicate, I think it
Been
would have
easier.
made more sense
Yes.
and tied all 8 movies together better.
Yeah.
Especially because this goes back to something they call back from Mission Impossible 3 in here. Benji mentions the whole anti-god God
Yes.
thing that he had with
Yes. Yes.
that is literally Ethan and the entity. That is the god and the anti-god.
Mm-hmm.
And you could have went a little further and it's like, well, Ethan is the person that's always known to push things to the edge for that purpose, to disregard these consequences and to really push towards the impossible. Well, now we've given a digital consciousness its own Ethan Hunt complex.
Yeah.
Oh no, we've made a computer in our own image. What hath we wrought?
What could possibly go wrong?
All
Mike
right.
never wrote about this.
Yep.
People are going to think this is an open-ended ending. This is not an open-ended ending if you go to the fundamental understanding of what's going on here. And
Yeah.
I kind of hinted at it with the last bit of conversation we were just having.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, yeah. I don't want to spoil it for anyone.
Now,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
one thing that was missing for me is when Ethan gets his mission, kind of gets his mission at the beginning. There was no, your mission is if you choose to accept it. Those words were not said by the president.
True, but the president's not the IMF secretary, so
Well,
she's
that's true.
got the same bylaws.
Well, that's true.
Right.
I just thought
There you go.
that's a good point because he was getting his mission, but you're saying, but not from the IMF secretary. Okay.
And then while it's not that much of a spoiler to anybody who thought Paula Patton, Maggie Q, Jonathan Rhys-Meyers, or Jeremy Renner were going to pop up, it ain't happening. I already want to pitch Paramount on a show called The Other IMF Team, and it is those characters because you can't just throw them in with Benji because Benji would be team leader, but then shouldn't Brant be team leader? And I'm not having another Thunderbolt scenario here.
Yeah. Well, if you think about the TV show, the team leaders changed over time. So it would be easy to do that in this
True.
It could.
and keep going
Yeah.
forward.
And also,
Yeah.
they could just have more than one team. Like,
Yeah.
you can't just have one team operating the whole globe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah.
And they could do that in multiple times. They could do it in different groups. They could have this team and that team and have different movies. It could go on forever.
Well,
Or
so at the screening we went to today, they gave us a poster. And I'm walking out. I said to my wife, I said, now in 50 years, if this franchise is still going, this poster is going to be worth a lot of money. But I'm going to be in 116 or something. Ain't going to
Yeah,
happen.
hang on to it.
You know, Paramount did the Friday the 13th movies, and Jason's, let's say, how many? There's at least two. Like, there was like the final Friday, I think, or there was the one sequel where they thought they were over, and then there was Jason's Dead, the final Friday, or something. Yeah, oh, Jason Goes to Hell, the final Friday. It's like, final is bringing back another good Christopher McQuarrie quote when he was talking about whether Henry Cavill would come back or not. There's no such thing as death, just unavailability.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I was
I
doing
think-
ministry at that time. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, nobody dies in science fiction. That was another term, right? Nobody dies in science fiction.
Oh,
You
yeah,
could write
science
anything.
fiction.
Stroke of a pen.
Now, Dan, you and I both talked to some of the audience members after we saw this movie.
Yeah.
And so let's just play some of their comments.
Yeah. Okay.
Just say your name here. And, all right.
Hi, my name's Caroline, and I liked it a lot, but I really wanted more mask reveals.
More masks. We're just coming out of Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. All right. And what's your name?
I'm Chandler. I thought it was really good. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't have anything I don't think
Yeah.
insightful to say about it.
Yeah. What'd you think of the pace of the movie?
I thought it was good. I feel like the early scenes were a little like gratuitous a bit
Okay.
with the flashbacks, but it was good. It made sense.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else? Yeah.
No.
All right.
No.
Thanks, guys. All right. Thanks a lot.
Bala.
Sahana.
Sahana. And what did you think of the movie?
It was very good.
I liked it.
Was it too long?
No.
No, I
No.
don't think so.
Did it wrap the story well for the two movie series?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything you didn't like about it?
No.
I found the first hour kind of weird. Like the opening sequence just felt like an edit almost
Okay.
of all the past movies. But I think the rest of the movie, like, kind of moved past that. It captured the rest of it.
All right, cool. Thank you very much. Hi, can I have your first name?
Vyas.
Vyas?
Yeah.
And come on over. And your name?
Priya.
Priya?
Anand.
Anand.
Yeah.
And what do you guys think of the movie?
It's unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Really liked
I
it.
thought it was great. The
What did you like?
The action sequence were fantastic. The first half an hour was maybe a little slow, but after that it got really engaging, and it didn't seem like long at all. I know it's supposed to be close to 3 hours, but it didn't feel like that.
I wish it was longer. I liked the editing too, how it was put together as well.
Okay, what did you think of the airplane scene?
That was
That was
fantastic.
fantastic.
And I think a lot of people don't talk about the submarine scene where he goes inside the submarine.
Yeah.
That was really,
One man show.
Yeah.
That was clearly
That
one
was
man
really
show.
good.
Yeah, that was really, really good. I don't know why people are not talking about it. The plane scene, of course, that was fantastic. But so was the submarine scene.
Yeah, see, I thought the plane scene was a little long.
It was a little long, yeah, but because we knew it was coming because of the little trailer and stuff, it was not that bit of surprising. But the submarine scene was total surprise and was really keeping people on the edge.
Yeah.
Sure, of course.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
All right, thanks for everybody who gave us those comments. We really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, it
And
was
for the
fun.
most part, we agree with you.
Yeah, there you go. All right. So I think in general, we're all saying go see this movie, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And for us, go see it in my IMAX because I think that was fantastic. Mike
it.
will tell us how it is in 4D with the rumble seats and everything. You're going to see tonight.
I mean, we'll literally record another half an hour to tell you about the 4DX.
Well, we did an episode off of No Time to Die where we talked about it in 4DX, 3D,
Yeah.
and standard widescreen and
IMAX.
Dolby Digital or whatever
That
it
was
was.
really good
Yeah,
3D.
yeah.
That was really good 3D. And I'm sad that Mission dropped 3D after Fallout. Like they did it once and then that was it.
That's a wrap of our talk about Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning. This has been Dan
And Tom,
from SpyMovieNavigator.com and our great guest, Mike Reyes of Cinema Blend.
thank you, Mike.
Oh, Mike, thanks for joining us today. This is fun. Always fun with you.
It has been way too long. And before anybody thought that we were too late on the Bond stuff, just remember Rolf Saxon was one of the minions in Tomorrow Never Dies.
Exactly.
There you
exactly. I look forward to your article this weekend
Yeah.
on cinemablend.com.
Yes. Yes.
CinemaBlend.com. Check it out. All right. Thanks, everybody. We appreciate you listening.